Hi you guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Shania and welcome to my second video. Today's video is going to be my January reading wrap-ups. So I'll be talking about all the books that I read in the month of January, and I'll also be talking about the book that I did DNF in January. And I'll just be going over basically what I liked, what I didn't like, and I'll also give you my star rating on the book. So if you're interested in this video, then keep on watching. The month of January was okay. The books that I read in the month of January were okay. One in particular was my favorite. And then one, like I said, I did DNF, and I started the month off really bad at first. And this is the book that I first read in the month of January. It's The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, and this is the book that I DNF'd. And I think I want to come back to this book. I just think I wasn't in a good headspace. It was a lot happening in the month of January, and it was just taking me way too long to really get into the story. I felt like the storyline was really good. I enjoyed the idea of the story, the plot, and everything. It was just that I had a lot going on in January, and it was just taking me entirely too long to really get into this book. So basically, this book was about two sisters that grew up in this small town. I think this was in the olden days, child. I really don't remember the exact the exact year. Oh, what is this? 1950s, I think that's what it is, the 1950s. And basically it was about two sisters, and they live in this small town, and then eventually they want to move out of this small town or something. This is how you know I didn't care for the book, or I wasn't really invested in the book, because I can barely remember what this book was about. But they end up wanting to leave this town because it's so colorist. The town that they live in is super colorist. Everybody's I think whitewashed or something, or you have to look a certain type of black, you have to be a light-skinned type of black or something. So they end up leaving, and then one sister leaves and she passes as a white woman, and then the other sister leaves and she's obviously passing as a black woman. And so they go through the lives of each sister, as one being white passing and then the other one being black, and how they lived and things like that. And then I think they go on to have their own children. It was just I don't know. The story, like I said, it sounded good. The plot and everything sounded good, but I just had a lot going on in January that I just couldn't really get into it. And then I think I stopped at the point to where she met this transgender boy or something. I don't even know. It was just, I don't know. I want to come back to it. I'm not going to completely take it off my shelf and never think about it again. I do want to come back to it because it's such a popular book and everybody has read it. Everybody has loved it and raved about it. So I think it's just me. But that was the first book in January that I started reading. But like I said, I did DNF it. So after this book, I ended up reading The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And so basically this book is about four life lessons, basically 4 agreements that you should be living by. 1 is be impeccable with your words. 2 is don't take anything personally. 3 is don't make assumptions. And then 4 is always do your best. I rated this book 4 stars. I really enjoyed the book. I felt like it had some really important topics in the book. I felt like it allows you to do some deep inner work with yourself. For me, I felt like I do a lot of the things that he says don't do in this book, and after reading I'm just ooh, I do that, or okay, yeah, I definitely do that. That's not good. And so he gives examples in basically ways to avoid living that way. I don't know, I just thought the book was really, really good. A lot of people have read it. I made a lot of annotations throughout the book, and I think it's really good if you're doing a lot of healing or self-work, because that's kind of like the era that I'm in. Everybody says like healing era. That's kind of what I'm in, and I'm just trying to like better myself. And I feel like after reading this book, or if you're even like in a spiritual like era right now, I feel like this is a good book. It's a good like starting point into like healing or working on yourself or being like in your spiritual era. I feel like this is a really great book to start off with. But yeah, that was my second book I read in the month of January, and I rated it 4 stars. And then the third book that I read in the month of January was Milk and Honey by Rupi. I'm not even gonna pronounce her last name because I don't know how to say it, but it looks like this. Milk and Honey. I read it on my Kindle, so I don't have the physical book with me. And this was a poetry collection, and I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 stars. I really liked it. I felt like her poetry was very easy to read, very easy to understand. It was relatable, and I feel like I don't usually pick up poetry books because a lot of times poetry books are very like lyrical and they have a lot of metaphors within them, and it makes it really difficult for me to understand. But her book was like very straight to the point. It honestly didn't even feel like poetry sometimes. It just felt like blurbs, like just like this is how I felt basically. Like it didn't even feel like a poetry book. It felt almost like a diary in a way. I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. I highlighted, I screenshotted, I bookmarked like a lot of the poems in the book. I love the fact that it had pictures in the book. And she just talks a lot about relationships, love, grief, breakups, things like that. So I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. And like I said, I rated that 5 stars. So after I read Milk and Honey by her, I wanted to read more poetry. I was like, okay, well, I really like that book. Let me see if she has any other poetry. And then so I went on to read The Sun and Her Flowers by the same author. Again, I read it on my Kindle, so I don't have the physical book with me. And unfortunately, I didn't like it as much as I liked Milk and Honey. It was still good. It just didn't hit home for me as much as Milk and Honey did. In this book, she more so talks about like how it is being an immigrant and her mother and her father being immigrants and things like that. So it just wasn't a topic that I could relate to as much. But I still did enjoy the book. I rated it 3 stars, like I said. And I did highlight and screenshot a few of her poems in here that I felt like stuck out to me. She still did talk about some like relationship stuff in there that I did like. But yeah, that was that book. That was technically the 4th book that I read, if you count the DNF book in January. The next book that I read in January was We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rogers. And I really like this book. This was like a self-help finance type of book. So she basically talks about how to get on the path of becoming a millionaire or becoming successful. She kind of talks about finances and how to use your finances or your incomes to make other incomes, especially being a woman. This book is more so dedicated towards women, because a lot of times men have an upper hand with being at the top of like what is it called? I don't know the word, but like they have an upper hand at being successful in like business and finances and stuff. As women, we kind of have like the lower hand or the bottom of the barrel. We're at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to businesses and finances and things like that in the business world. So it was just very like relatable and easy to understand. She didn't have a whole bunch of numbers and technical words and just a whole bunch of extra stuff in here. It was very straight to the point. It was easy to understand. It felt like like girl to girl type of talk, and she was kind of talking you through how to start up and how to use what you have, and things like that, how to make small changes to get to the life that you want to live one day. Yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I rated it, like I said, 4 stars. I think the only reason why, let me see, why did I rate it only 4 stars and not 5? I'm gonna go to my notes. I don't know why I rated it 4 stars. I think it was kind of like long. I think that was one of the reasons why I didn't care for it. Sometimes it felt like, again, like repetitive. I don't really care for that. Like, I just need it broken down one time, and then I don't need you to like rephrase what we just talked about. I felt like she kind of did that here and there, but I guess if you just want like a good understanding of what she's talking about, then I guess that could be good. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I said I hated the long chapters. The chapters were long. I mean, I think I had like an hour-long chapter. Like when I read on my Kindle and it tells you like where you're at in the book on the bottom of the screen, I think one chapter was like, took me like an hour to get through. It was very lengthy to be a chapter. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, that was How to Be a Millionaire, or We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rodgers. And I rated that 4 stars. And then after I read that, the last book that I ended up reading was Weightless by Yvette Dion. This was the last book that I read in January. Weightless by Yvette Dion, and this was my favorite book. As y'all can see, I tabbed it, and I think this was, I put this as like the book of the month for January because I really enjoyed it. Like, okay, so basically it's kind of like an autobiography in a way. It's maybe like a memoir in a way, but it's also like self-help in a way. Like, it's just, I feel like it's multiple genres in one. So it goes on to talk about her and her health journey. I think she has like some type of like heart failure or something. I honestly don't fully remember exactly, but she is sick. And she talks about like healthcare. She talks a lot about her weight. She talks what it's like being like a plus size or a fat woman, especially being a fat Black woman, and how she's treated so much differently than other people in so many ways. She talks about her sex life and what that's like, and how dudes approach her and how dudes act towards her. It was just so relatable. I was just like, like some of the things that I've experienced or I felt, she has like said it. She said it in the book, and I was just like, bruh, like it was just like so eye-opening. Like I'm literally not the only one. Like, she has experienced this, so other people have experienced this. And it was just so good. She talks about like turning off the lights during nasty time, and like just certain things was just like, okay. I felt all these things, or keeping your shirt on, or like healthcare. Like I said, like how Black people, not even just Black women, but Black people in general, just don't have proper healthcare towards them. Like, we get treated like as if we don't feel certain things, or we get put on a back burner, or they put like a band-aid over like bigger health issues, or they blame everything on weight when it's really has not, like, your health problem has nothing to do with weight, but they'll use that as the reason why you're in this health condition. Like, oh, my back hurts. Oh, well, you should lose weight. That's like the first thing that a lot of doctors go to when they're dealing with like somebody that's fat or plus size or whatever, is that they'll put everything on weight instead of looking into like the deeper issue. And it could be a more serious problem than weight that's causing this person's back to hurt. So it was just refreshing to relate to someone so much. She talks about how in a lot of like sitcom shows or on TV, it's always the loud Black fat friend. And I think about so many shows that are like that. She gives the example of Insecure as the character Kelly. If you watch Insecure, you know the character Kelly. She's not even fat. Obviously, she has weight on her, but she's not fat, but she's bigger than obviously the other characters on the show. And she's that fat, funny, big black friend. And then I thought about, who else is like that? Okay, if you think about Good Luck Charlie, you had the girl Ivy on there, and she was the fat, like, aggressive black friend. And I mean, if you think about any show like that, it's always the big black girl. And it was just like, bro, like, it was just so relatable. Like, it was funny, it was sad, it was just a really, really good book. And then the cover is really pretty. I ended up following her on Instagram. Like, she did her big one with this this book. Like, this is one of my favorite books now. So I highlighted that as my favorite book of the month. And so yeah, those are all the books that I read in the month of January. And like I said, I had an okay read a month in January, but that was my favorite book. And so if I only got one favorite book out the month, then I'm happy. But yeah, that was everything I read in January. I will be coming back and doing my February wrap up. I'm really late putting out this video, but I wanted to do this one obviously first, just to get it out the way. And then soon I'm going to be posting my February wrap up, because February was bomb. I had great books in February that I want to share with y'all. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my last video, my first video, where I kind of talk about who I am, and I did the booktube newbie tag. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.